right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jackie Isle. I am the Director of Youth Education at the International Spy Museum. I've been with the museum for quite some time. I'm going to say 15 years at this point, perhaps even more. I stopped counting. I came about 6 months after the first museum in its old location opened. So I'm the founding director of youth education. And when I came to the museum, I knew very little about spying. I mean, what I knew about spying was from movies and books and my own imagination. But I have had the pleasure of working with some of the world's most incredible people, including real spies, real tech ops people, experts, intelligence historians. I have learned a lot. And the meeting of the minds between an educator, an informal educator, and a real spy is like nothing you've ever seen before. And the result of those meetings is pretty much what we're going to share with you today. It's experiences that help bring students, young people, teachers, families into this shadow world of espionage and help them to understand what it is, how it functions, but more importantly, also to look through the lens of spying, to look at some of the skills and subject areas that are traditional that we want all students to have, all young people to have, like critical thinking and problem solving. And no matter what you teach, we pretty much think we've got something for you. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But that's who I am. I come from a museum background. I have a master's degree in teaching in museum education. I've worked for a variety of museums, but I gotta say, the Spy Museum has never stopped being boring. I got to tell you, we've scratched the surface here. And now with the new virtual, arena, it's also pushing the envelope of what we're doing. So we'll share more with you on that. And this is Lucy.
I don't think I can follow up with that one. You're much more eloquent than I am. You're the eloquent one of the tag team duo, even though we have one more member who's currently on maternity leave. So it's just the two of us. But I am Lucy. I am the School and Youth Programs Manager here at the museum. I have been with SPY a little over 8 years, which is hard to believe. So I feel like it was yesterday I was walking into my interview. But
I don't know how I lived 10 years without you. That's what I need to say.
I know, we sort of finish each other's sentences and things like that, for better or for worse, as they say. But before that, I was a first grade teacher. So a little different. I was terrified of high school students before I started this job, and now I can't imagine not teaching high school students. So I love this topic. It is such a cool topic, and we also have a cool hook. So we're so excited to work with you guys today and showcase some of what we offer, because virtual teaching is nothing new to us. But before we get started, we strongly believe that a drink is in need, especially right now.
Oh my God, it's been a time, people. It has been a time, has it not?
And if you...
I know, I want to toast teachers. You guys are the backbone of everything, really. We love teachers. It is really, certainly, you guys need to relax. You need to have a drink. This is our every year we have an open house. Every year we have an open house, and we develop this Teachertini. Now, the secret is that the Teachertini recipe changes pretty much every year we do our open house. This is the one for this year, so we hope that you have pulled up a cocktail of some sort, not just tonight, but pretty much every night. We know that this time is challenging, and we feel that our role in what's happening now with COVID, with virtual, with trying to even teach in the classroom is just to try to, it's always been to support teachers, always. Our partnership with teachers, local schools, and national, schools nationwide, and now schools globally is very, very strong. And our role as an educational nonprofit is to support what you do. We really do feel like we're in partnership with you. So even though we'll be presenting to you this evening some of the things that we have available to you, we do see our relationship with teachers as one that evolves, one that is dialogue based, and we'd like to hear from you. So, we hope that in this webinar, you'll use chat to ask us questions, to let us know what you're thinking, to let us know how we can help. So
I'm calling you Crafty because that's what I'm used to.
Oh, that's my code name. I go by Agent Crafty.
And I go by Buttercup. And usually for our programs, we don't go by our real names. We go by our agent names. So if you hear me call Jackie Crafty, that's just the way it is.
Part of the job.
But I'm actually going to change something from what you said, Jackie. Any questions people have, it might be easier to keep track of if we do the Q&A.
Good point.
I just find it easier. That way questions don't get lost. But if they do go in chat, we will try and keep track of it too. And just a couple of housekeeping things, because I always want to let people know we both have 2 screens going on.
So if you see us looking this way, it's because we're looking at chat and we're looking at Q&A.
Yeah, we don't need to be rude.
Not because we don't have, good eye contact with you. We have good eye contact with you. We know that's part of the best practices of teaching virtually. So let's talk a little bit about who this, if you're not familiar with the Spy Museum, our headquarters is in downtown DC in L'Enfant Plaza, but as a unique institution, as the first and only public museum solely dedicated to espionage and intelligence, as the repository, the place that holds the largest collection of espionage-related artifacts on public display, and being the only place where we're providing a global intelligence perspective. We are not an arm of the CIA. We are not here to say, rah, rah, CIA. In fact, we're here to point out the good, the bad, and the ugly about intelligence. We are not here to just champion spying and intelligence. That's not who we are. And we are not here to train kids to be spies. A lot of people think we're some dark state, deep state organization training kids to be spies. That's not who we are either. In fact, we kind of consider our job successful, that if after a program or after a visit to the museum, a kid goes, I would never want to do that. We're like, okay, at least you know what it is. And we do see our role as global. Because we are a unique organization, we really feel a commitment we have since day one to provide educational resources to thousands of educators and students worldwide, globally. And even though we do have a headquarters, a bricks and mortar place that holds all these wonderful artifacts, we have for many, many years now looked at leveraging our resources virtually, digitally, how we can get all of these resources out to you so that you can use them in your classroom and that we can support you in what you have to do. I don't know where Lucy went.
Well, I spotlighted you.
Oh, how exciting.
See me.
I kind of like when you're there so I could see you.
Sorry, I'll cancel spotlight.
No, now it's just you. What happened to both of us?
I don't know what happened. Sorry, I switched that.
You did something, but anyway, so that's just a little bit about who the Spy Museum is, and what did I miss, Lucy?
You didn't miss anything, but do you want to talk about why spying is cool besides?
Yeah, go ahead.
Working there. I think the first thing I always think is, in terms of a historical perspective, every period of history is covered. If you think about, cavemen, we always like to show this comic, even though it's a little corny, but we always joke, and this is adults, so we can say spying is the second oldest profession. Let that sink in for a second.
I think that there's a museum dedicated to the first, maybe in Amsterdam, but that's not us.
Not us. But we always think of, spying, it's the need to know information. And so from the cavemen all the way to George Washington, it's America's first spy master. Then you think of D-Day and one of the biggest deception operations. And finally, 9/11, one of the biggest intelligence failures. And we're coming up on the 19th anniversary, which still boggles my mind. So we're, you can really connect it to any part in history. And we always talk about the secret history of history, that, we usually uncover the secrets of a big event that you might not know of. And then Jackie, do you want to talk about the relevancy?
Yeah, I think what's amazing as an educator to think about the Spy Museum, a lot of people say, well, how does it, I don't have to teach about spying. Why would I go to the Spy Museum? And, as Lucy said, we cover every period of history from the beginning of human history through all the way through the ages, through today and through tomorrow. Spying will always be with us. And so that makes it relevant from a current perspective, that the world that we're living in is impacted by past events, and that it's going on around us right now. Even as we speak, spying is happening.
And I was about to say,
It
Jackie,
will happen tomorrow.
especially right now. I mean, with the election coming up, and I think for the past couple of years, just seeing, all that information coming to light, and, what is fact, what are we hearing, making sense of all of that, I think is so relevant. And sources, and I know you talk to your students probably all the time about, do you trust a source? Why or why not? And so that's where I think spying comes into play.
Yeah, and that's such a wonderful, critical thinking aspect of what we do at the Spy Museum. As educators, it's never ceased to amaze us that every single discipline that can be taught through the lens of intelligence and spying. I mean, we were tested once by a music teacher, and we're like, yeah, musical deception during the Civil War. We got you, but the biggies, the STEM subjects, US and world history, science and technology, engineering, math, as I said, English language arts, US and world governments, art and design. Art and design. I mean, you never think about it, but if you really think about what spying is, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. It's so much bigger than just Bond, and we found inroads to traditional curriculum in really exciting ways. Another cool thing, and I find this really cool, is that it's an evolving history, because it's a secret history, as Lucy said. We cover the secret history of history, which means that what we know about secret events is only what's been declassified. Only what we know, because it's by nature secret. And so sometimes new information, or we even at the museum will FOIA request information to be released to the public so that we can use it for teaching. So declassified documents, primary photographs are really cool, because they were once secret, and now they reveal an aspect of history in a new way. And we used to have a board member, a former FBI agent that I used to co-teach with at Tennessee State University. And one of the things that he said that stuck with me is, if we just teach happy history, we are not teaching history. When we teach the secret history of history, the real gritty ground truth, we are teaching real history, not just what we want people to know sort of on the surface, but what really did happen. And as this information does get declassified, we know more and more. And so when we built the new museum, we built it with this understanding that we may have to change some of our displays. When we write curriculum, we write it with the idea we may have to change it, because more may be released at some point that sheds new light on something we thought we knew about.
And I also think, I'm sorry, but showing declassified documents with still redacted information blows kids' minds. And especially when you're in the classroom with them and they're looking up at the light to try and figure out, what's still hidden. You're like, nice try, dude. You're not going to see it. But I think
the methods, baby.
there's that energy that they get excited about that they normally wouldn't be excited about with primary documents.
Yeah. So that's another great thing we love. And to me, this is what I love the most, because I'm very skill based, and I think one of the most important roles that we play as educators is to teach skills. And as I said, we're not here to teach little spies, right? So what do? We look at what the skills that are required in this world of intelligence, skills from being a critical thinker to thinking analytically to solving problems on the fly. Resilience comes from being thrown new problems, new challenges. How are you going to solve them? Thinking creatively, thinking outside of the box, thinking collaboratively, knowing that other people on your team bring skills to the table that you don't have, and how do you work well as a team. Observation. We don't have communication skills here, but that's super important too. These are all skills that when we put them within the context of the world of intelligence and spying, we can tap on those skills within that context and build those skills, not to the end, as I said, of making them intelligence analysts, but to using and strengthening analytical skills, because we're doing an analysis activity or an intelligence analysis activity.
And I think all of our programs or workshops or resources, whatever, tap on all of this. I mean, we pick and choose, but almost every single workshop we do covers all of these bases to fit every learner and to make sure every learner gets to shine in a different way.
Right.
Jackie, you and I know the best part of why SPY is because it's cool. I mean, oh, you have the martini glass. I don't have the martini glass. And I've
This is what we love the most, of course, because we like being cool. We got the hook. If you're going to teach them something and it's through, you're going to go on a mission, or you're going to have to solve a problem because we got an agent stuck on the roof of a building and you're going to have to build a gadget for her. That's a hook that is so engaging. We have yet to meet a kid or anyone really that's like, really, spying? That's so boring. I don't want to do that.
Or they'll come in thinking that way just because they don't want to acknowledge that it's cool. And then you get that smile on the face.
Well, I was telling Lucy the other day, I did a program with our teen volunteers, and teens, you all are maybe high schools, you know what teens are, right? So they start off very like, you're not going to get anything from them, very straight faced. And they had their names. This was a virtual program. So they had their names on their squares. And I had changed mine to Agent Crafty. So I said, you know what? During the course of the program, if you feel like it, you come up with a good agent name, go ahead and change your name on your Zoom square. And as I'm teaching, as I'm going, quarter of the way through the program, a few of them I noticed popping up, and all of a sudden instead of calling them, Rachel, I'm calling them, Agent Black Star, and slowly. And by the end of the program, every single teenager had a new name out there. So it was kind of, we hooked them in to this cool sexiness of spying.
So why don't we talk about what we offer? All right, because I think that's really why you guys are here today, to sort of see what we offer and how we can help you guys as teachers, right? So the first thing I think both Jackie and I love to talk about is our virtual student workshops. I think when COVID hit and the world sort of got upended in terms of teaching, we sort of sprung into action. We have been doing our virtual programs for over 8 years. We're going on our 9th year. But I think for the two of us and for our colleagues, it was a hard transition though, because we were so used to doing point to point, meaning we would be in our studio and all of the students and the teachers would be in their classroom, which it has its own issues for us because we're so used to being hands-on and to go virtual, but we figured that out. But then when COVID hit and every kid was in their own room and we had to go multi-point, that provided its own challenges for us. But I have to say, and maybe I'm the only one, I loved multi-point more than, because I really it made me, the kids got a chance to shine. I felt like more. If you use the chat room correctly, if you use the raise your hand feature correctly in these virtual realms, it really allowed every kid, every student to get the opportunity to ask questions or voice their opinion, which we found harder when we just did it point to point. So we launched these programs in 2012. All of our programs are hands-on, engaging. We get those students thinking, on their feet, trying to solve a problem.
Actually, literally on their feet. On their feet. We are looking to engage our students emotionally, intellectually, physically. And when we look at our programs, we look for points where we can make that happen.
Yeah, so Lydia asked, my county does not use Zoom. Absolutely. We can use any platform you guys use. I've done, I think last year we did
pretty much everything.
WebEx, Teams, Google Hangout. If
it works for you, we'll make it work for us. Our ultimate goal is to work with you and your students. However, whatever platform that gets us there, we'll use it. Sometimes we don't love it. We know maybe you don't love it either, but we're going to make the best of it and make it happen and do everything we can to still engage those students.
The only requirements we ask is that we can share our screen, so we can do a slideshow presentation or PowerPoint and video, as well as be able to at least chat in some capacity. We have found that the chat box, as I said, sort of provides us with that call and response that we might not get. Otherwise, we don't require kids to share their video unless you all require. It's not mandatory from our perspective. We don't require them to share their audio. We do have a virtual code of conduct that we ask you all to sign. It's the same sort of things that you would require in your classroom. but we'd be happy to work with you. Our programs are usually 50 to 60 minutes long. We have found it usually is longer these days, 50 to 60. It used to be 45, but because there's much more dialogue.
Yeah.
You guys, but we find that kids want to talk more. Even those high school students that might be zoomed out, we have found that they want to talk or ask questions. And so we made it a little bit longer. It's $105 per program. That is up to 40 connections or 40 students, not including the teachers. We require one teacher, but we always are welcome to have more teachers. We make you guys the co-host, or you make us a co-host, and it's more of a dialogue at some point. We want you guys to butt in if you guys want to. We want you guys to mute those kids that are noisy or answer those questions. So we love that collaboration. We're currently offering 7 different workshops, and we're going to go through them. But if there's one that you're thinking that would be really cool that we're not offering, please reach out to us. We're always looking for new ways to collaborate. But shall we get started, Jackie?
Yeah, we're also, by the way, we're going to share other resources beyond our virtual workshops. We're starting with this because we think this is sort of the cornerstone of what might be needed now to, pass us the baton for an hour and let us do something really invigorating and exciting and curriculum standards related in your classroom. But we have a ton of other resources that we're going to share with you as well that are free, downloadable, easy to access. So just hang tight, strap in. We're going to go on this roller coaster ride together.
I will say what was really cool last spring was a lot of PTAs were purchasing, or parents were purchasing these programs for their kids' classes and for the teachers, which I just thought was so cool. Just another avenue.
I mean, we totally wish we didn't have to charge, but we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we're suffering too now. The museum had been closed for quite some time, and our visitation right now is severely limited. So we try to really keep the cost as low as possible, while we're still also fundraising to offset those costs, so to keep them even lower if we can. So let's get started. Spy School 101. This may be the one that is most like, maybe we do teach you to be spies.
Unfortunately, Daniel just has to members get a discount, not on these programs, unfortunately.
Because they're as low as they can be while still, enabling us to survive right now.
That's a really good question, though. I am going to breeze through these because I want to make sure we get enough time to answer questions. And I'm already looking at the time and we're almost at a halfway point. So do you have what it takes to be a spy? That is the question that we pose to the students right off the bat. And this is our general program that we created 8 years ago. That was sort of, if you couldn't come to the museum, we sort of brought aspects of the museum to your classroom. And we tested your spy skills. All right. And so what I love about this program is the fundamentals of the program are the same, depending if you're 5th grade or in 12th grade. But the way we engage the learner is different, and the questions we ask are different, and it's still the same, because the reaction that we get when we show this gadget of figuring out is priceless. I wish I could screenshot the screen of when I put this up on the screen and I talk about this dog do transmitter. And all of a sudden you see the parents come in and peer over their kids' shoulders. It's priceless. So this is an activity we do. I did exactly a dead drop, Daniel. This isn't a dead drop, though, and I'll tell you why.
Sort of.
Sort of. But this is part of our program where we say, guess the gadget. And we show a couple of gadgets from our collection that I think Jackie and I love, but are just so cool. And so we showcase them and we have the kids guess what it is and how a spy would use it. The best answer I got for this is animal litter, or animal, I forget what it was, but the inside is actually a transmitter. And this was used during the Vietnam War. It's tiger dung. And it was used to transmit a signal up to an aircraft circling above during the Vietnam War, because there were tigers in Vietnam. And I just always think it's so ingenious at how this gadget was created and thought of. And then we also, I'm sorry, I'm going to speed through these, but we go into much more detail and really give a chance for the students.
We're really just giving you a taste here, just to give you a sense of the kinds of things that we do in our workshops.
So this one is special, and we love this one because we were able to showcase this camera pen and the inside. And I'm sure, as you guys know, whenever you do Zoom or any virtual programming, the video is never crystal clear. But you still get a sense of how the inside of this gadget works. It's just an ordinary pen. But then when you take the layers off, you see that it's actually a camera inside of it. And then, sorry.
The two prongs that you saw was where the miniature roll of film would be kept. So it's really cool with spy gadgets to be able to like reveal their true purpose, reveal what they are, because they are concealed in an everyday object.
This is a dragonfly drone. And what I love about this one is that we asked the students what year was it created. And rarely do kids ever say their correct answer. Some will go all the way back to the Revolutionary War. And we just laugh. But this was in 1971 dragonfly or insectothopter that the KGB, the Russian or Soviets made. And this is a design for some of the drawings that were used. So that's one aspect of Spy School 101. But then we also love to talk about disguise. So in addition to gadgets, we talk about observation, we test their memory, we sometimes do codes, but then we usually end with disguise. And I'm not gonna show this, I'm gonna leave it as a teaser, but we basically ask the students and the teachers to try and identify Donna Mitchell in disguise. We show a video of Donna Mitchell. This is Donna Mitchell on the left. We show her going through a hotel, and the kids and the adults have to try and identify her. And not just say it's a woman in the shirt. There are going to be a lot of women in shirts. We need the description of what color hair, how is she dressed, how is she walking, what is she wearing, in as much detail as possible. So it's having kids use those thinking skills and remembering what did they see in description. And then we showcase who Donna Mitchell is in disguise. And then we have two former chiefs of disguise show how she was put into disguise. So they walk her through it, which I think is so cool.
You can already see that we're looking at, the problem solving skills, that gadgets are solutions to problems. What are those problems, and how are these gadgets, how is the technology leveraged to solve those problems, to observation. So we're really using this cool lens, this hook of spying to strengthen this skill set. And then in that same workshop, there's mathematics through code breaking, code cracking, and all kinds of other spy school, activities that we do.
And we also talk about what is intelligence, especially with high school students, because I think there's a lot of myths and preconceived notions, and we just lay out the facts of what is intelligence, why do we have it, what's the purpose of it, and sort of how do we collect information in the cycle of it. So with high school students, we really more focus on that at the intro to make sure that we're getting a basic understanding of what is spying and how it's different from you or I spying on our parents to figure out what they got us for Christmas. So.
And then this one is called Mind Games, and we love this one because analysis is such an important key aspect of the world of intelligence, but it's the one that people are like, why would we, it's so boring. Like, how do we do this? It's so complicated. It's so boring. And we really, really challenged ourselves to find a really interesting way to talk about analysis because intelligence is collected, but unless it's put together, it has no meaning. So you're collecting information, secret information from around the globe, but it's the analysts that make meaning of that intelligence. And we talk about the analysts as people who are basically like people putting puzzles together. Except they've told us, the real intelligence analysts have told us that it's like putting a puzzle together, except you have no idea how many pieces there are no edge pieces, and you have no picture on the box. And some of the pieces that connected at one point in time may not connect later, or you may get new pieces later on that wind up connecting. And so it involves a lot of thinking about what is the big picture. Analysis and intelligence gathering in and of itself exists because we live in an uncertain world, and we're trying to predict the future, which is why you saw the woman with the crystal ball. If we had a crystal ball, we would not need intelligence collection. We could just go to the crystal ball and be like, will someone attack us? How many chemical weapons are, the questions that we have that we don't have answers for leads us to uncertainty. We collect intelligence to become more certain. Now, we can never be 100% certain of things. And we also know that when intelligence analysts, as human beings, bring their human brains to the project, a human brain can fall into traps, cognitive traps, that can skew their analysis. And they have to be very, very careful of this. But what we love about this is that all of us are human beings, and we all have human brains that that can short out, that don't necessarily function the way we want. We make shortcuts on purpose to be more efficient in our thinking, and the way we perceive and see the world. So we created these fun games to hook people in, to expose their cognitive biases, and students see that, and then we link it to intelligence. So in this one, we call it opposite opinions. Let me just jump in with it and show you what it looks like. So very quickly, what's your gut reaction? Do we have a poll, Lucy, to bring up? What's the correct way to eat pizza? With your hands or with a fork?
The poll should be up. And we do this with students, where we have the poll. And this is where,
like, why are we talking about pizza?
But if you can't use Zoom, we are happy to just have people write in the chat what they think. So we don't need to rely on the Zoom polling, if that makes sense.
And it's looking like, we got a lot of New Yorkers in the group.
Yeah.
Because most of us feel pretty certain about how you're supposed to eat pizza, depending really where you're from and what your background is. So we're sharing the results now. So 13% of
one person,
13% say using cutlery, and the majority of people here with us tonight say hands. But this does shift depending on where and when we're teaching and who's in there. We're going to keep going with another one. Again, just your gut. Is dancing a sport or not?
I don't know about you, Jackie, but this one I've had the most heated debates.
And actually, we that's what we really like. We love when there's argument, because what we're trying to get here is that, people get very rooted in thinking that there's a right way, that there's a right answer. And so, right now for you guys, 78% of you think it's a sport, and 22% of you say not a sport.
Interesting.
Do we have another one, or did we just?
That is it.
So
we have 7 usually.
When we teach this particular game, we've got 7 different things, and some of them, as Lucy said, cause great arguments. Now, why are we doing this? We're doing this to get at something called mirror imaging bias. You can stop sharing the poll results, Lucy. I don't know if I see them.
I got rid of the poll.
You did? Okay, I don't know why it's still on
there.
Okay.
How about now?
Nope, I got rid of them for me. Okay, that's fine. So mirror imaging bias is where you are very rooted in thinking that there is a right way to do things, that someone will behave in a particular way based on the way you would behave, based on what you would do. And you might, if you were to predict someone else's behavior based on how you would behave, you can get that really, really wrong, because what you're doing is you're mirror imaging. You're predicting their behavior based on how you would behave. Now, no big deal if it's about pizza or dancing, right? No big deal. But when it comes to medium range ballistic missiles, could be a big deal. Could have world-ending consequences. And in the Cuban Missile Crisis, this idea that here at the CIA in America, the Western world did not consider that the Soviets would place nuclear warheads on the tactical missiles, the short-range missiles on the island of Cuba, because our approach to fighting wars is not to use nuclear missiles defensively. It's more offensively. After the Cuban Missile Crisis was over and the missile sites were deinstalled, it was revealed that not only were the offensive missiles equipped with nuclear warheads, but the defensive missiles were as well. And that was just shocking. And you can imagine, had we come to war, had this not been a crisis, but a war, our troops would have been hit with nuclear fire defensively from the island. And that would have been something we would have never predicted. And so it's good that it's always good that we don't come to nuclear war. So we do a few of those kinds of games where we get at perception and we get at cognitive biases. And then we launch into a more serious game. And this is a gamified version called Red Team, where we actually have your students join the Red Team. The Red Team is a team that's formed to shoot holes in an existing analysis. And the storyline that we consider here is the storyline of looking at Osama, what we believe to be as Osama bin Laden's compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. And the question is he there? Is it him? Is it his compound? And so you become a member of the Red Team. You are determining, you are looking physically at that compound and each looking at all these different physical aspects. And you are checking off what other theories, aspects of this compound would fit beyond just Osama bin Laden, a terrorist. Could it be another Al-Qaeda leader? Could it be just a criminal living there? Could it be a businessman living there? We go through all the different physical features and they check it off. So do we have a few slides of what that looks like?
Yes, so the original, I'm not going to do the video, I'm going to show a little bit, but you're led by Mike Morrell, the Deputy Director of CIA at the time. And so I'm going to show you 2 quick seconds of that.
And he led the Red Team at the time. So it's kind of cool that he came into the museum and filmed this for us. So he'll lead your students through this activity.
Hi, I'm Michael Morrell. I was the Deputy Director of CIA and twice its acting director. I was with President Bush on 9/11, and I was with President Obama when we brought Osama bin Laden to justice. One of the hardest decisions I had to make was whether I thought bin Laden was in this compound or not.
I cut it short because
that's fine. We're doing just snippets of this activity for you guys. So basically what we do is after Mike Morrell does the introduction, he takes us through each aspect of the compound from the walls. We look at the exterior walls. And one thing that we learned.
First, let's look at the walls of this compound. Let's see how they compare to other houses nearby. Abbottabad is a well-to-do town with some large homes. What differences do you see between the walls of other houses versus this compound? Who of our possible inhabitants would live in a nice town, but then put up barbed wire? Make your choices below.
So
yeah, go ahead.
So you're learning, this one physical aspect of the compound, what makes it different than other residences in the area, and why would someone build the walls higher than most and not have, security cameras? Which theory here? And you get to check as many as fit, right? So
we send you that worksheet at the beginning of, the students are checking it off as they go.
Right, and we go through all the different features from the exterior walls to the fact that they're burning garbage, even though there's trash collection in the town, to
communication,
to the
pacer.
There are no telephone lines going to this house, and so you're beginning to check off which theory might fit all this evidence, all this collected intelligence. We then bring you into the situation room and we test your confidence level. Now that you've assessed all these different physical features, how confident are you that the first theory that we ever had, which is that it's Osama bin Laden, is actually that theory? How confident are you? Are you 0% confident? Are you 20% confident? At the time, confident, you can see confidence levels ranged, right? And that's what doing this exercise does, is it gets you to a place where you can articulate your confidence level in a particular theory. And then what's revealed at the very end of this activity is that President Obama had a 50-50 confidence level, which is a surprise to most people because he then did order the raid. And it was, of course, as we know now, Osama bin Laden. But at the time, people didn't know that. So we bring you back to that level of uncertainty. And so that whole class is really about how we make decisions and how we perceive the world and how intelligence analysts do their job. Right, Lucy? Did I miss anything?
Right. You got it. And so the next one is our forensics of espionage, which I will be totally honest. This is the first time we're doing this one virtually. We've never done it virtually. It's always just been an on-site workshop. And we were planning on making it virtual this fall. And so luckily we're still planning on that. And so the whole premise of this is there's a mole in our operation, and it's loosely, based on the case of Robert Hansen, who was an FBI agent and a double agent, and he was a mole for the Soviets and Russia. And so we sort of loosely base it on this case. And so the students are not only looking at evidence that is collected from a dead drop. Daniel, this is where the dead drop comes in. And a dead, for those of you that don't know, is a secret location where a spy might hide information for someone else to pick up at a later time. Total side note, I think what I also love about this job is we get to use terminology like that, and you immediately get those kids going, huh? Dead drop, what's a brush pass? So all these different verbiage I think is so cool. But going back to forensics, we sort of go through the real forensic analysis that FBI forensic scientists use. So we're looking at fingerprints, we're analyzing fingerprints, we're looking at shoe prints that were found at a dead drop, and we're looking at the characteristics that a real forensic scientist would look at. We're looking at handwriting samples, all right? And then we also use a piece of equipment called the ESDA, the electrostatic detection apparatus.
It's like magic. I love this machine. I know
it is magic,
but to me it's magic.
And I will say it was really, that I think was the pickup of why we didn't do it virtually at first, is because for us, it was so cool to see it in person. We couldn't quite figure out how to replicate it. And we did a video of it, and we think we got it to work and showcases If You're Almost There, where it reveals indented writing. From 10 pages below a top sheet, you're able to see what someone wrote, and just that magic aspect. So that is forensics. And
that's very science-based, because we are, looking, we're doing a scientific analysis of the evidence that we're finding at that dead drop site. Okay, I love this.
Switching back, this is, I think, an oldie but a goodie that we've sort of zhuzhed up for the new school year. But this is Minute to Minute, the Cuban Missile Crisis, where your students become all-source analysts at the CIA in October of 1962. I mean, who doesn't want to be an analyst at CIA before? And so for this program, we're looking at declassified primary documents, and they're helping advise President Kennedy at various stages of the crisis. So the first part that they're looking at is human intelligence that has come in from Cuba and from Russia. And they're tasked by President Kennedy to figure out, is there enough intelligence to warrant sending a U-2 plane over Cuba? And we sort of talk about what a U-2 is. We talk about, the risks involved. And then we analyze a couple of documents, including this one, which is my favorite, which is from Claudia Marinas. And the source is Claudia Marinas, who's the personal pilot of Fidel Castro. And we talk about the source. Do we trust him? Why or why not? And we go into that a little bit. And then we look at a couple of other pieces of information, and we highlight it, we put it on our board, our ops center, as we call it, and then we poll the students. We ask them, should we send a U-2? Why or why not? And it really is a cause for debate. You have some students who strongly think, no, there's not enough intelligence to send a U-2. We should wait it out, not figure out what's, see on the ground. The risk is too great. Whereas you get other students who are just like, let's bomb them, just go for it.
We have to remind them the role that they're playing in this, that they are the analysts. They're military commanders, nor are they the decision makers. That we teach about what the role of intelligence, not as the people who actually make the decisions, but the people who help the people who make the decisions.
Yeah. And then we gear them back in. We come up with an educated analysis, and we advise President Kennedy to send a U-2. That's usually the direction we get them to go in, but not always. And then we look at a couple of U-2 photos. And this is where we're a little nervous. I'm not going to lie, this fall, is using the annotation feature. So we're going to have them annotate on the screen, and we're hoping it goes well. And if for some reason the annotation gets out of hand, we immediately disable it. And so they're going to mark up what they think they see. And they're given a key, and they're told to analyze these documents. And then the last part is that we reveal that there is a spy within the Soviet Union his name is Oleg Penkovsky, and he's known as a spy who saved the world, yet no one had really ever heard of him until after the crisis was over. And so we talk about him, and this is a picture of him on the bottom left, taking an actual picture of classified documents. And so hopefully the students help prevent World War III from happening. But we love we love this program because you triangulate information. You're looking at all different types of intelligence to formulate your ideas, but also what to advise President Kennedy. You're not the policymakers. Their students are not making the decisions.
And what's cool about it is that as the scenario unfolds, the president has additional questions. We feel pretty certain that that phone on the desk will ring at some point, and the president will have another question for his group of analysts. And that question, those new questions will force you to go back to intelligence and maybe look at new intelligence or collect new intelligence. And that's that triangulation. Like, we had Cuban national sources telling us one thing. The U2 photographs tell us either corroborate that or not. You know, it's leading us into a new direction or not. And then we have this inside source, you know, and so what's cool about it is that the scenario unfolds as new intelligence is becoming, that's what we call it minute by minute. So new intelligence is becoming available. And so I like it because it feels very real and exciting. And you learn in the very end that we were so close. We were just so close.
Minutes, yeah.
Nuclear war. It is scary, you know, and so we try to bring the students to that understanding of the role of intelligence in this particular scenario was critical in averting nuclear catastrophe.
I'm just going to quickly touch on this one. This is the higher priced item. This is not $105. This starts out at $400 per program, because this is your opportunity for your students to meet a former intelligence professional. And these are just 3 that we feature. There are tons of others that we know of that we can get. Each come with a different price point because they're not on our staff. We have to pay them some money to come and speak, but they're amazing. And the stories they tell, and they all can talk about different things, whether it be women in the role of intelligence, to being a person of color, to the ethics involved in intelligence. It runs the gamut. So if there's a topic that you are interested in having your students learn about, we can reach out to different people. But like I said, the price point is higher. So that is that. For the sake of time, I'm going to keep going.
Keep on going. Let's keep going. Any questions, though, let us know in chat.
So
Okay.
So Jackie, do you want to highlight the lesson plans we offer?
Yeah, so, you know, for many years, we spent a lot of time on creating lesson plans and resources, leveraging the unique access that we had to either artifacts, documents, or people, experts. You know, I sit down, we have got the most incredible board of advisors, and we don't create these things in a vacuum. We actually, you know, we meet with the experts. When we were creating the Cuban Missile Crisis minute by minute lesson, you know, we talked with actual people who worked the case, you know, and that was incredibly, it gave us an incredible insider knowledge, and that goes into these documents and goes into this lesson plan. So the one that Lucy just talked about, minute by minute, is actually, you can download that and you can lead that in your classroom or lead it virtually should you choose. Personally, I wouldn't go to all that work. I just hire us to do it if you're doing it virtually. But all the documents are, and scripts for teachers, and the glossaries and everything, all those YouTube photographs, they're all in this downloadable lesson plan from our website. We did one on the Civil War. It was the sesquicentennial, I think, and then we created this one with lots of lesson plans in it, ranging, and this ranges in mathematics-based, you know, coding and decrypting activities, to Civil War Facebook, trying to, you know, figure out what, you know, what's going on. Like if you were to create some of the key military leaders, what they would be saying. We've got a lot of lessons in that particular That's where musical intelligence actually is as well. We got the music intelligence piece in that one. The Enemy Within was a traveling exhibit for many, many years that we did, and it had a companion piece that actually can stand on its own. And it's the exhibit was about the history of terrorism in the United States from 1776 through, at that time, 9/11. But we go all the way, I think we've tended to go beyond that in some of our lessons. There's some key lesson plans in there, especially about the domestic legislation regarding terrorism, and, looking back through history at various incidents and how they changed the course of history and how they may have developed new legislation. It's really about the balance between civil liberties and national security. And so there's some great discussion lessons in there for your students. And then, of course, we did one at the 10th anniversary of 9/11. We released this lesson plan guide, which is still relevant today. And it's got some great lesson plans about 9/11 and the role of intelligence in 9/11. Looking at it as an intelligence failure. One of the great lesson plans in here involves looking at the August 6th presidential daily brief, an excerpt from that, and looking back on what decisions the presidents could have made based on that information. So there's some really great lesson plans in here. Urge you to go peruse them, download them, print them out.
You will get an email from Zoom, fingers crossed, if I've done all the settings correctly, that includes all of the links to everything you see. I will forewarn you, Zoom doesn't let us hyperlink, so I'm just it has it there. But if you guys have any questions, at the end, you'll have our contact information, and we're happy.
All of this is up on our website. We hope you'll find it. It shouldn't be too difficult. What else?
We have several resources and activities on our website. Prior to COVID, we had some up, but when COVID hit, we put almost everything.
Everything we've ever thought about, everything we've ever done, even if it was a family program, if it had a consumable or a worksheet or an activity that we thought could be useful for parents or teachers, we just went ahead and sort of repackaged it and put it up. We were desperately looking through all of our archives for anything we'd ever done, from DIY projects to learning how to do your own ninja obstacle course in your backyard.
And this is where Lydia, the Spy Fiction Writers Workshop, there is a template of how to start your own spy fiction novel. It is in there. So it runs the gamut from DIY, invisible ink to create your own gadget to ciphers. What's also not in here, but is on the website, is also videos that accompany it, which leads us to our last resource, which is all of our multimedia, as well as our spy store. In addition to what you see is we also have YouTube, all right? And the YouTube channel is a fantastic resource. It has all of our previous programs, usually adult programs, so speaker series, videos, all the Cuban Missile Crisis footage that we had collected over the years is on there, interviews. And so I urge you guys to look at the YouTube channel, including these two lovely individuals, Donna and Tony Mendez, who are on our board. And then
who helped us create a lot of the programming.
Exactly. And then I saw Andrew. Hey, Andrew. Andrew's listening in on this. Andrew is our brand new historian and curator here at the museum, and he's taking over our Spycasts, which are our podcasts, which are fantastic.
Which is going to be cool because Andrew has a really cool accent. So start listening to them and you'll see a big change coming soon.
I know. So I'm going to see if I can share. I don't know if I can. I hyperlinked it. And Jackie, tell me if this is going to appear or not. But if on our website, you can search. You see this, Jackie, or no?
Nope, it's not showing up yet.
Okay.
But that's okay. If you go to our website and you click on the Spycast, there's actually a searchable index. So you put in a topic, like say you're teaching, Revolutionary War, whatever, you put it in and all the Spycasts that have ever been done about that topic will come up. So it's a really wonderful.
I've used it multiple times for research.
it's one of the cool things about the Spy Museum is we tend to get some really amazing people to come and speak. And it's what's nice is that with Spycast and with our YouTube channel, it's not a one and done situation. Like if you didn't come to the museum at that particular time, that night when they came to speak, it's okay. We trapped them in a room and made them talk to us and recorded it. and it's up on the Spycast or it's on the YouTube channel. So it's an amazing resource, especially for high school students.
Yeah. And finally, our Spy Store, which has, I have to plug them.
Good.
But the books they have are fantastic. And I know Andrew has already started to delve into the books. But we both have some of our favorites. I will say the Declassified 50 Documents. I just checked today to make sure they have it. It is one of our personal favorites. There's Jackie has it. I don't have a copy. It's still.
I keep everything. I keep it all right here because we use.
It's all over there. But I will say there's just some fantastic books to research, or just if your students are interested in. We also have a bibliography on our website as well, reading lists for kids and for adults, as well as collection highlights. I didn't put that on there, but we have a brand new collections highlights page if you want to see all of our cool artifacts that we have. But Jackie, we did really well on time.
We sure did. And what we need to let you know is we actually, when we designed this, we thought we'd have a bigger audience for this. We know it's early in the school year. This has been recorded. It will go up on our YouTube. So if there are teachers that you think on our YouTube, if you think if there's teachers, colleagues, that you want to, have a look at our resources, you can share all the links that we're going to share with you, but they can also watch this webinar. We'll have it up there. And we're going to do another one for specifically targeted for elementary and middle school teachers next Tuesday. But of course, everyone's welcome. So if you want to share that with any of your colleagues, please do. And if you have further questions or you want to talk with us, a lot of our resources grew out of conversations with teachers. So please do write us, call us.
Yeah, we're here for you. I mean, we honestly, virtual, it's not our preferred method, but we are happy to work with you in any capacity.
I'm liking the virtual stuff.
I know.
I found it incredibly challenging to really look at how we can do this well and engage
it is easier for us than it is for you. We know that because we're not grading them, having to.
You don't have to do it every day with the same students, but we're just really glad that that we're here to help as much as possible. So please do spread the word, and please do. We hope to see you. We really do.
Yeah. And thank you guys for attending. I hope you're enjoying your Teachertini.
Yes,
let us
please.
know how it is. Neither of us made it tonight. Both of us don't like ingredients. We had to do something apple. But
here's to everyone. Here's to
everyone.
Year.
Good luck for a good school year.
We'll make it through together. We're in it together. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.